Um, Good question actually. Um, I I guess if I have to say something, it's probably don't lose.
Okay.
To be honest, like that's the main thing occupying my
Okay.
mind.
Right. So you get put in situations that you think about all the things that could hit you and try to do things that don't
Mhm.
kind of get hit by those, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So we almost need to change that. Okay. And the goal needs to be to win. Right? Not don't lose, but let's win this game. Right? The cool thing about the winning decisions is that if you make the winning decisions, you're also avoiding the losing decisions. Right? So if you focus on maybe not losing, sometimes you make decisions that make you lose slower, but they don't avoid the loss, right? But
Oh.
if your idea is I need to make the winning decisions, then obviously you're gonna also not make the losing decisions, right?
Mhm.
Um, that said, I want to I guess first talk about something that people you probably heard about it before. Like people call it by a bunch of different names, right? But like they say like the neutral triangle or whatever.
Mm.
Um,
Mm.
basically, right?
Yeah.
What you've heard
Never
about it?
heard of. No.
Never. Okay. So look, when you're in neutral, right? And I guess people would talk about neutral all the time. Um, it literally means it's part of the game where neither player is at advantage or disadvantage, right? The game is in a neutral. The advantage is in a neutral state, which is why they call it a neutral game, right? We're trying to turn the game into our favor, right? We're trying to go from neutral state to advantage position. Now, in second eight, that usually means beating the other guy up, right? Doing whatever offense our character has and making them deal with it, right? Getting a literal advantage.
Mhm.
Now, for different characters, they're gonna have different types of offense, right? Some characters they just have like pure stance mix ups. Some characters they're like Steve or like Law, where they go in and they do a lot of pokes and make you have to play around them. But the basic idea is they have to go forward and do their moves from a neutral position, right?
Okay.
When you are fighting another human being and you're going in a lot, they don't just allow that to happen all the time, right? What they end up doing is they do keep on moves, right? So if
Mhm.
you run in, you run into their moves and try to go beat them up, right?
Mhm.
Now the thing about keep on moves is that keep on moves require you to move into them. They require you to go forward. If you don't go forward, that's what happens. They whiff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
If my opponent is over there, yeah. So kind of let's kind of rephrase what we just said a bit. If my opponent is over there waiting, I go beat him up. Right? There's nothing stopping me from going to go beat him up. However, if my opponent thinks I'm going to, go in and beat him up, then he does a keep on move.
Oh.
And if I think he's gonna do a keep on move, then I wait. Okay? It's
Like
rock
Rob.
paper scissors.
Oh,
Yep.
okay. Mhm.
Yep. So aggression beats waiting. Keep out beats aggression, and waiting beats keep out. Right. So when you see when you're watching high level Tekken and they're doing all this stuff, right? They're doing all this, not just moving, just all vibes.
Mhm.
They're paying attention to how the other guy is reacting when we get into this range where that rock paper scissors exists, right? Because further away, it doesn't exist, right? I can't dash up and attack here. I have to like run all the way in, and then you'd have time to like react and press the button, you know.
Mhm.
But from around this range, this is where the actual threat is. Now this is where you actually have to predict advancing movement, right? So when you see people dancing around this range, they're making kind of like small guesses as to what the other guy's gonna do, right? They're trying to think, okay, if this guy's gonna move forward, let me jab, right? Let me do a keep on move. They're trying to do something not. Sometimes they try to do things that aren't too committal. Sometimes they do like big launchers, electrics, all that stuff, right? But the idea is the same. We're moving around. We're trying to figure out: is this guy gonna move? Is he gonna move forward? Is he gonna attack himself, or is he gonna back up? If he backs up, I go in.
Okay.
If he does a move, I bait it with my movement, or I do a move that beats that. Right? We dash in, and he does a jab, and I do a high press. Stuff like that happen.
Mhm.
But that's the whole idea behind this movement thing, right? Now
Okay.
the thing you're having, the issue you're having is, right, you move forward or you move backwards. You let the other person initiate, right? You let them dash up into this range, and then you still kind of stick to the backwards movement, right?
Mhm.
You are. It feels like a very comfortable option because you're technically not putting yourself at much risk by moving backwards, right, or by waiting. But when you do it too much, the other guy starts reading it. He starts going in. He gets to the advantage position. He makes you guess his mix-ups and instead of the other way around, right? You're not actually forcing whiffs if you're moving backwards the whole time. Your opponent has no reason to whiff if you are never playing the go forward option, right? This is kind of what I was saying. This is kind of what I was saying earlier. You have to make them pick a timing to do a keep out move if you actually want them to whiff,
Okay.
right? So you have to. You can't be scared of like, okay, if I go every time I go forward, he's gonna hit me. That's not true. They're not robots, right? And the only way to actually successfully bait the way you want to is by making them fear the forward option, right? Is by making them think, yo, sometimes this guy will go in and hit me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get your point. But
Mm-hmm.
how am I supposed to decide when to go for the approach option?
So that is where playstyles come into play, right? This is where you can start off by being the most aggressive Zafina of all time, and then only backing off when you think they're gonna try to hit you, right?
Mhm.
Or you can start off being a super defensive Zafina, doing keep out moves and moving around, and then when you see them try to bait you, you go forward, right?
Mhm.
It it's all kind of like you said, a rock paper scissors kind of triangle, right? So you can start off playing rock and then adjust to their paper, or you can start off playing scissors and adjust to their rock, right?
Okay.
You get to choose this, but what you can't do is opt out of any of it. You can't you can't go. I'm going to do these options just because they're comfortable. Against a good player, you have to play all of it.
And
Does that make sense?
and that's why I also have troubles with low attacks.
Yeah, because the thing is, you're not meant to block every low, right?
Mhm.
You're not meant to block every mix-up. The way the game is played, we play neutral actively. We do keep our moves. We attack when we have a chance. And while this guy's attacking, you know what he's not doing? Or while this guy's defending, you know what he's not doing? He's not attacking me. So the issue you're having with low attacks is probably not that you can't block lows, right? Like everyone, like, you know, lows are mixable on everybody. But you're being put in the situation too often where you have to block, where you have to guess, right? You're not controlling the neutral, which means they get more advantage positions on you. They get to attack you way too often, and if they get to attack you way too often, then obviously you're gonna get eaten up by lows eventually. You can't block them all. But what you can do is you can stop your opponent from doing this to you the whole time by playing more actively in neutral. Right? So a lot of this game is situation control. And if you don't play actively, you get put in bad situations against good players, right? If you don't contest the spacing, if you don't make them think, all right, I can't just run in on this guy, then obviously, you know, um, you're giving them freedom, right? You're saying, hey, do what you want. I'm gonna defend.
Mhm.
And if you're telling a good player, right? Think about this. In any video game, not just Tekken, right? But if you give a good player the freedom and you say, hey, do your worst, show me what you got, they're gonna do winning stuff. You know what I mean? They're not gonna do things that just get themselves killed. They're not gonna whiff for no reason. They're not gonna run in and like just give you a string to sidestep or duck. You know, they're going to do unfair mix-ups that are in their favor more than not.
So I'm basically a punching bag.
Yes, exactly. So you don't want to let yourself be that. And that's why we had to play. That's why we have to, play some neutral. And this move,
Mhm.
that move was super. That move was super good for this.
I mean, it will
This
get
top spot.
nerfed the next week for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully, right.
Mm.
And then also sometimes when you're at the advantage, you're playing to not lose, right? So you get to like an advantage position like this, and you default like you're like almost always doing this, right? Because it's on one, it's the hardest thing to beat. But even when you're at advantage, you want to the kind of the way this game works. We play in neutral to find the advantage position. We play defense to escape the disadvantage position, right? We want to escape disadvantage with as little damage done to us as possible. That's why we don't guess on every low, right? That's why we default to moving, right? The goal is when I'm under attack to not take as much damage to get away without taking as much damage as possible, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we reset it back to neutral, and then I find my advantage position again. So that means on the flip side, when he gets the advantage position, his goal is to try to let me not escape, right? To maximize the value he gets out of it. Right?
Mm-hmm.
If you are kind of fearful of your opponent's defense, what happens is you get this advantage position, you pick the safest option every time because you want to cover as much as possible without getting hit, without taking the risk of the other guy making a play. And that, honestly, that has some merit sometimes, right? Like defaulting to the thing that's hard to beat. But you do need to make the adjustment and extract more value out of your offense, right? Hit the scarecrow low, right? I mean the
Tarantula
low, right? You can do this without doing the follow up, even, right? Sometimes take it, make them have to continue to hold the defense a little bit longer, get more value out of your advantage positions. Sometimes without, because like right now it's like either you play the safest option possible, or you'll risk it on like a big like knowledge check, right?
Yeah.
You're like do this, or even try to catch up pressing with the while sitting 1-2, or kind of whatever. There's no like in between. You want to kind of add it. You want to, when you're learning these like advantage positions with Zafina, you want to incorporate just other low pokes. Oops, not that one. Where's the input? What is the input for what I'm looking for?
The
Oh
back 1+2.
Yeah, this one.
This one. Okay.
So you can annoy them. Even back 1+2 is good too, but that one's more risky, right? You can play these kind of safe advantage options, but you do need to show some willingness to, I guess, hit the other option sometime, like this the other lows, instead of either going, I'm going to be completely safe, or I'm going to throw strings at them. Right? That'll probably make you feel more comfortable with your advantages. And it'll also make it harder for good players to beat you, because you'll have offense prepared that isn't just kind of knowledge checks.
But I thought I wasn't supposed to use strings against good players.
What do you mean? No. You can do things like this, right? You can do attack, I guess, sequences more than anything, right? Not so much. Yeah. Not so much strings, right? Like this. Honestly, if you think you have a read on it, right? If you caught them like trying to punish this or whatever, that's fine. You have to kind of know the counterplay to your own strings, your own offense, and understand, okay, is this something that someone can just sidestep every time on reaction, or is this actually good mix, right? The big secret is kind of knowing all the options that beat your stuff in advance, so you can be prepared to counter what the other guy is doing.
I see.
So you generally want to avoid things that are counterable on reaction too much. You know what I mean? I think the only kind of reactable thing you were doing was down 3, and that's only like on, I guess, a really, really good player and a really good connection.
Yeah.
The
only other thing I did was the Tarantula down 1+2. That.
Oh yeah.
And
that one.
I am guilty of using down back 1+2 sometimes.
yeah, don't be afraid to do normal low puts, right? Tarantula 1 is pretty solid, right? That one is actually super annoying to deal with, and a little bit more, I guess, Dynamite 3,
I
right?
I mean, my issue with Tarantula, for example, is that
Mm-hmm.
when a move is blocked, I can't block myself.
Right,
Because the fastest move I can use is Tarantula 3, which is
mm-hmm.
I-14. So
Right,
if I get like Tarantula 1 blocked and I'm
mm-hmm.
playing against some characters can float me out of it when I
Right,
get this move blocked. So I got into the habit of trying to go for the safest option on block or the easiest reward I can get with
mm-hmm.
down 1+2, for example. So
Right,
so it's not like a total risk, because if Tarantula down 1+2 is blocked, some
mm-hmm.
characters, while standing launchers, don't hit her when she transitions back into Mantis, for example.
Right.
So if you hold back, it whiffs, and then you get your turn again.
Yeah, so that's good. That'd probably be good, I guess, and then like pretty okay to do in matchups where they can't actually punish, right? But the thing is, this is where knowing you want to when you do attacks and like you do offense like this, you want to at least understand how to counter the counterplay, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
right? And this in this case, this isn't setting you up for anything. This low, they're gonna try to react to it, right?
Okay.
If they can react to it and punish it, then you haven't learned anything valuable. There's nothing you can do with that information besides, oh, this guy reacts to my low and punishes it, right? Now, it is good that you do this a lot of the times, right? Like you said, going to the safest option. But if you are only mixing this up with something that is reactable, then it's never gonna hit anybody, right?
Then
But
all
when
they
you
have to
do,
do is hold back.
yeah, exactly. When you add in this Tarantula 1, right? And you don't need to do this all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You just need to show it a couple times, right? If you sometimes hit them with Tarantula 1, and then for the most of the time you do the safe mid,
Mm-hmm.
then it makes it more likely that sometimes when they really want damage or they really don't want to get hit, they'll duck, right?
Because they saw
Or
me
just
use it before.
yeah, exactly,
S-
right? So
So
it's not that you have to hit the low every time you think they won't duck, but you have to just remind them that it exists, right? That's kind of the theme of what I'm saying here, right? You don't always have to be going in and running in and attacking the other guy, but you do need to let him know that you're willing to play this option, right? And if you don't let him know that you're willing to play this option, he'll never whiff, right? If you don't let them know you're willing to play this option, they'll never duck into this,
mm-hmm.
right? You have to display willingness.
So by I mean, you saw me, for example, a couple of times when I went into Tarantula, that I didn't go for the down forward one immediately, but I
Right.
stayed in the Tarantula stance for a couple of seconds and then went for it.
Yeah.
Isn't that also a useful layer in my gameplay, or is that a waste of time?
It no, it is, right? But it all comes together if you do this immediately, you do this on delay, and you do this immediately, and you do this on delay, right?
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, they're just blocking for an extended period of time, right? So
Okay.
the lack of annoying them with this low is what's missing. That's the missing layer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Um, and that makes all together, right? That makes this running 1+2 a bit more annoying. And if the running 2 is a bit more annoying, or running 1+2 is a bit more annoying, then your opponent will do things to try to counter this more often. And that puts more pressure on him, right? Because now he doesn't want to let the situation happen a little bit. He's a little bit more annoyed by the situation, right? And if they're annoyed by that situation, guess what they do? They try to duck or they try to do keep out moves, and that's stuff we can play around. If they try to do keep out moves, we talked about baiting the whiff punish.
Mm-hmm.
If they try to duck, then you've got things like forward 3,
Mm-hmm.
or running 3 if you're really feeling it. If you don't think they're going to sidestep, right?
Okay.
So by making by making your offense a little bit more threatening and while also being solid, right? Not so much just knowledge, not so much as knowledge checking or doing safe options, rather doing like kind of good mix-ups. You create more of a threat that your opponent has to respond to, and when they have to respond to that, then you can, move around them in neutral a little bit more, get more keep out attacks.
Because they will
And the cool
hesitate.
thing is, yeah, and the cool thing is, when you, let's say I was crazy Zafina, right? Let's say I'm always going forward. Let's say I'm one of these guys,
Mm-hmm.
and I always do this stuff, and I always go in and hit him, and I always do this, and I always dash up and down back three, and I always do this low, right?
Mm-hmm.
My opponent will think they'll have a very obvious timing for the keep out, right? Instead of it being a random whiff that happens like randomly while moving, it'll be a whiff that happens because I move forward, right? They'll try to react to me moving forward because I kept moving forward. They're trying to hit me for something I did on the timing that I set.
Mm-hmm.
So I set the timing of their keep out moves by going forward, and that means I get easier whiff punishes. That's how most whiff punishes happen. And I know if you really pay attention to what happens when your people whiff in pro play,
Mm-hmm.
it's because the other guy was either moving forward and then he baited it, right? The other guy thought he was gonna run in, or because the other guy was doing like attack sequences, and the other person wanted to stop it, and that's where they sidestep and whiff punish, right? Because you want to interrupt someone to stop them from attacking you more often, right? So it's these mistakes. They don't usually happen unforced when you're fighting someone good. You actually have to give them the reason to make the mistake in the first place. You have to play the game with them. You gotta be brave.
Okay.
And if
So.
they're good,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
No.
So I was gonna say if they're good, then you have to make them show you how they counterplay this stuff, right? You need to know, okay, is this guy willing to duck this move? Is this guy going to do a keep out move, right? Is he the type of person to keep out? Is he the type of person to duck? Is he the type of person to keep blocking and then try to play the mix up after, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you learn where they like to attack, where they like to do keep out, where they like to sidestep, where they like to block, and then you can adjust your offense to that, and you can actually bait these things instead of trying to like just hit them randomly.
So by being brave and
Mm-hmm.
pushing my offense a bit, I make
Mm-hmm.
the timings predictable so I can keep playing my own game.
Yeah, you make time predictable so you can keep playing the old game, or just more often than not, right? Because like you said, these are good players you're training to fight against, right?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of they're not just gonna let you like, they're not just gonna go fully passive and let you play their own game. They're gonna fight you for it. They're gonna try to read when you go in. They're gonna try to read when you back off. They're gonna play that neutral game with you that we talked about, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you want information on how they play it, right? You want to learn. Okay, when I'm playing all sides of this, how do they solve this problem?
Okay.
And they're gonna fight you for control of the game. They're gonna say, hey, okay, I see what you're doing. I'm gonna interrupt here. And then when you bait those things, you're winning the game. That's usually what Tekken looks like at the highest level, right? It's not so much one guy running his game and the other guy just losing. It's they're like fighting for the rights to do what they want to do, you know?
Okay. So the true skill lies in being able to read your opponent's timing better than your
Yep.
opponent can, and
Yep.
capitalizing on that.
Yes.
And the player who manages to do that faster, more often than not, wins the first two in tournaments.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And by being when someone chooses to be the aggressor, they're almost like setting the timing, right? When they choose to initiate.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a play style. But then some people like Nee, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like Nee doesn't usually aggressively set the timing, but he reads it so well and he gets so much reward with it with his Brian counter hits that he ends up winning that way, right? So there are multiple styles that are viable, but the game is won by the person who locks in on the other guy's timing faster.
Mhm.
And sometimes your initial timings, the timings you just choose to go in, right?
Mhm.
Timings you choose to fight, they're just by default better than the other guy. Sometimes you just play in a way that's uncomfortable for the other person, and you just win by default, and that happens too, right? So it's not always going to be like some kind of surgical like read.
Mhm.
Sometimes you just do stuff, and the other guy can't adapt in time, and you keep him mixed up, and keep it unpredictable enough for you to win, and he loses.
But those are in general worse players than me.
Usually, yeah, because good players will adapt to your timing in time.
Mhm.
Right? So a good player will start to adapt to your timing, which means you would have to mix it up on them.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about my timing in general? Was I very predictable in when I placed my attacks, when I tried to push
Yeah.
my plus frames, or
Yeah. So you would do a lot of waiting. It felt like you were almost playing it like in modes, right? Like you were playing based off of who you thought had momentum, I guess, right?
Mhm.
So like you would default be kind of passive,
Mhm.
and then whenever like I guess the health was a certain situation, you would continue to press your offense, right? So it was like you would attack in string, like I guess not strings, in sequences
Sequences.
only, right? So if you weren't attacking, it was obvious. If you didn't plan on attacking, it was obvious you were moving, right? But then if you did plan on attacking, it was obvious because you had just attacked before, right? So
Mhm.
you would always like kind of keep it going. You want to be able to kind of mix that up a bit more, right? Do a string of attacks and then move around, or move around first and then go in and do your thing, right?
Hmm.
Now this move is really good.
I mean, that's
um,
an exception. It will
yeah.
be reworked anyways. So I'm trying not to rely on it way too much.
Okay. Yeah, understood. I understand that. Um, but are you able to screen share your game?
I mean, yeah.
Okay, I would like to see you just try to put some of this into practice. You can queue up quick match or ranked match, whatever you want to. But I just want to see kind of how this information is sitting for you.
Uh, way easier said than done, but sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, give me a second to boot up the game. Takes a second. You don't travel anymore, right?
Not anymore. No,
Mm,
I'm just casual at this point.
mm, I mean, with the way you coach, I would barely call you a casual. I'm more of a casual than you, probably.
Ah, maybe, maybe. It
Uh,
depends on your definition of casual.
true, I guess. Um, screen share. Ah, let's hop on ranked. Who cares? It's only a PNG, anyways.
Exactly.
I'm still getting used to that new combo route for Zafina. That deep
Yeah,
dash into Magic Free. Still
yeah.
working it out.
When your combos change, it feels so weird, especially like after a year of doing the combo.
Yeah. Yeah, I never know that timing. I hope queue times aren't that long anymore. At the beginning of the season, they were pretty tough.
Yeah, I noticed a lot of, at least in NA, a lot of people have been playing since the tournament season started, so the
Mhm.
queues got better.
Oh yeah, for sure. In EU, it was basically the last patch that brought back a lot of the players.
Mm.
But sometimes I'll probably change it up to ±2. Oh, there we go. Oh, Reina. Okay. Reina in Infinite. Oh,
Okay. That's info.
oh. Oh, okay. Right. Stop with the running fee.
Nice.
Oh. Uh. Okay. Oh. Oh.
Mm.
Huh? Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Fucked up the punish.
Nice. Okay.
Hmm. I should stop using that running free. She keeps using jab as keep up.
Yeah, if they do like delayed jab stuff, 4-4-2 is really good.
4-4-2. Okay. Oh. Mm. Okay. Okay. Hmm. Hmm. Oh. Okay. Okay. I should stop. Hmm.
Okay.
Oh. Ah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. I think I have an idea. Old habits die hard.
Mm-hmm.
Huh?
Ooh, 14.
What? Okay, he always presses often. Hmm. Okay, no stepping in this instant.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Okay. 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 So I like that you were like almost immediately playing more active in the neutral there, right?
Mhm.
Um, what we what I think we'll have to work on in the future, is creating creating more compact offense that is hard to deal with, right? It's actually threatening and like hard to counter, right? Like it covers a lot of things and is also very threatening. And then also just optimizing defensive decisions a little bit more, and just generally improving defensive skills, right? Like there were some missed punishes, there were some getting hit out of movement there I can talk
Mhm.
about. But as far as adjusting your neutral goes, this is good. Okay.
Mhm. Okay.
And
Uh,
obviously, as you get more comfortable with it, you'll start to I guess play a little bit cleaner. Okay.
yeah. Mm,
All right. Let's see, because we're low on time here, or
mhm.
actually overtime. Do you have any questions before I head out?
Um, like if you had to point out the single greatest flaw in my gameplay and the single greatest aspect in my gameplay, what would those two things be? Like, I, let's change the question. How
Mhm.
would you describe my playstyle? My uh, preferred playstyle and probably the ideal playstyle I should aim for.
So let's see. I guess the preferred playstyle right now is you have, I think, like generally solid understanding of how like what you should do, I guess, to beat things defensively, right? So when you see something from your opponent, you can think of an answer um, as they're attacking you. But the problem you're having now is that I guess you've gotten so used to playing through that, right? Like you almost want your opponent to show you things to beat, which leads to you being a little too passive.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Ideally, we want you we want to kind of build off of that strength, right? Create a more, I guess, solid defensive player who can, I guess, use more compact and threatening offense to force more mistakes out of his opponent, right? Like you can you can um, capitalize on mistakes, but the issue is forcing them. So when we get you able to kind of force more mistakes out of your opponent through more threatening, neutral, more threatening offense, then you'll be able to see kind of those rewards, right? Your whiff punishing is like super good. Um, and your punishment knowledge seems pretty solid. Even in the miss punishes there, that was just being a little bit too slow. But you were playing on delay, so
I'm still also getting used to that new controller.
yeah, getting used to the new controller and everything like that, right? So we just want to make people play into your strength more often. That's
Mm-hmm.
the goal. That's the ideal play style.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right,
Do you recommend watching any specific player? Does
Shadow.
Shadow
Yeah. I think Shadow
because of the
uses something
character
advanced.
or just?
Because of the character, and he plays almost more textbook than you, right? Like he he plays in a way where he is not going too deep into mind games. Shadow does just what's required of him from out of his opponent, which is probably something that would be comfortable for you, right? So I think playstyle, like character wise and playstyle wise, Shadow might be cool for you to watch.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I'll
Okay.
try watching more of his games then.
Yeah.
More than I already am.
Yeah. Pay attention to his how he approaches in neutral, and I guess the attack sequences he does, right? And remember, each button he presses is meant to kind of be an obstacle for his opponent, something for his opponent to deal with. So think about like why he's pressing those buttons. Okay.
Mm-hmm. I'll do
All
that.
right, man. I have to head out.
Yeah. Appreciate
All
it
right,
a
man.
lot for the overtime and all.
No
Thank
problem,
you
man.
very
Take
much.
care.
Okay. Wish you well. Bye bye. Oh, scheiße.